What if I told you that JPMorgan, one of the world's most powerful banks, is publicly forecasting an $81 price for silver? While powerful online rumors claim it's been caught on the wrong side of a massive multi-billion-dollar bet against it, this isn't just a simple mistake, it's a glaring red alert. It's a signal that the physical silver market is under so much pressure that even the giants of Wall Street might be losing control. This video exposes how this colossal contradiction has created what could be the single biggest silver buying opportunity for retail investors in a generation. We're going to break down their official story, reveal the truth behind the numbers, and lay out a roadmap for why their pain could become your payday. Stay with me, because the details are staggering. First, let's look at what JPMorgan is telling the public. In early 2026, JPMorgan Global Research released a stunning forecast, calling for silver to average $81 per ounce for the year. This came after a spectacular 2025, where silver exploded by nearly 130%, rocketing from around $29 an ounce to over $70 by the year's end. Their forecast is built on a narrative of tight supply and surging industrial demand. They talk about silver's critical role in solar panels, EVs, and electronics, essentially painting a very bullish picture for the metal. But here is where the story takes a dramatic turn. While their research division was publishing these bullish forecasts, another part of the bank was allegedly hemorrhaging money betting in the opposite direction. In late December 2025, a narrative exploded online, centered around a supposed emergency SEC filing. This filing, whose authenticity has been heavily debated and even labeled as potentially fake by some analysts, described an unrealized loss of $4.75 billion on JPMorgan's commodity derivatives, a loss allegedly concentrated in silver futures. According to this story, which circulated widely, these losses were triggered when silver experienced extreme volatility. The numbers cited in these unverified reports were catastrophic. They suggested JPMorgan held a massive net short position of somewhere between 200 and 250 million ounces of silver. To put that into perspective, that's about a quarter of the entire world's annual silver production. And while no official confirmation of this specific loss or filing has been made by mainstream sources, the rumors themselves point to a deep-seated tension in the market. The perception that major banks are making massive, risky bets against a commodity that fundamentals say is ready to explode. So you have this glaring contradiction. The public-facing research arm predicts a massive price increase, while online rumors claim the trading division is on the brink of insolvency from betting against that very increase. What on earth is going on? To understand this, we need to look at the history. To the average person, betting against silver right now seems insane. But for big banks, it's been standard practice for decades. For years, major financial institutions have been accused of suppressing the price of precious metals using massive short positions in the paper market of futures contracts. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a documented fact. In September 2020, JPMorgan itself was hit with a staggering $920 million penalty for manipulating precious metals markets for years. 2 of their head traders were even sentenced to prison. The game was simple. Use enormous volumes of fake orders, a practice known as spoofing, to create the illusion of supply and drive prices down, allowing them to profit from their short positions. This historical context is critical. The alleged multi-billion-dollar blunder of 2025 isn't just an isolated event. It's the spectacular rumored failure of an old strategy. For years, banks could control the price because the paper market was much larger and more influential than the physical market. They could create millions of ounces of paper silver out of thin air to crush any rally. But in 2025 and 2026, something fundamentally changed. The physical market started fighting back. It's a battle that the paper shorts are now dramatically losing. The old playbook is failing, and the reasons why are the bedrock of the opportunity in front of you. JPMorgan's alleged catastrophic bet against silver isn't failing in a vacuum. It's failing because it flew in the face of 2 of the most powerful forces in any commodity market: a severe supply deficit and a relentless surge in real-world demand. First, let's talk about the supply deficit. The silver market is projected to be in a deficit for the 6th consecutive year in 2026. The Silver Institute forecasts a deficit of 67 million ounces this year. Over the last several years, the cumulative shortfall has been massive, representing a significant portion of an entire year's global mine production that has been consumed but not replaced. And what makes this even more explosive is that silver supply is incredibly inelastic. Around 70% of all silver is mined as a byproduct of other metals like lead, zinc, and copper. This means that even when the price of silver skyrockets, mining companies can't just flip a switch and produce more. Their output is tied to the economics of other metals. This brings us to the demand side of the equation. And this is where the story gets truly exciting. The demand for physical silver isn't just strong, it's structural and accelerating. About 60% data of all silver demand comes from industrial applications. This isn't optional investment demand. This is must-have, non-negotiable industrial consumption. The green energy revolution is built on silver. Solar panels use a silver paste to conduct electricity. While there are efforts to reduce the amount of silver per panel, the sheer growth in solar installations continues to create massive demand. Electric vehicles use significantly more silver than traditional cars, and with EV production forecast to hit 14 to 15 million units in 2026, that alone will consume an estimated 70 to 75 million ounces. And now there's a new, voracious source of demand: artificial intelligence. AI data centers and training servers require vast amounts of high conductivity components, with some analyses suggesting AI hardware uses significantly more silver than traditional cloud infrastructure. Let that sink in. At the exact moment, global supply is structurally broken. We have three of the biggest technological transformations in human history: solar, EVs, and AI, all competing for every available ounce of physical metal. This is the unstoppable force that the paper shorts just crashed into. When you have a massive, concentrated short position fighting against overwhelming physical demand, you create the perfect conditions for a legendary event in financial markets: the short squeeze. A short squeeze is a terrifying phenomenon for anyone betting against an asset. In simple terms, someone who is short has borrowed an asset, in this case paper silver, and sold it, hoping to buy it back later at a lower price and pocket the difference. But what happens if the price doesn't go down? What if it starts to skyrocket? The short seller is now in a trap. To exit their position, they must buy back the assets they borrowed. But their very act of buying creates more demand, pushing the price even higher. This forces other short sellers to panic and buy back their positions, which adds even more fuel to the fire. It becomes a vicious feedback loop, a tidal wave of forced buying that can lead to parabolic price spikes. The rumored 200 and 250 million ounce short position held by a single entity like JPMorgan is the ultimate ticking time bomb for a squeeze. As the physical market tightens and industrial buyers scramble for every available ounce, there simply isn't enough real metal to go around. The paper promises made by the shorts cannot be fulfilled. This is what we're seeing signs of right now. The disconnect between the paper price on exchanges and the premiums being paid for physical silver in markets like Shanghai is a classic symptom of market stress. When buyers are willing to pay significantly more to get their hands on actual metal rather than a paper contract, it tells you the system is breaking. This isn't just speculation. It's a fire alarm ringing in the vaults. The shorts are trapped. Their only way out is to buy, and when they are forced to do so, the upward price move could be violent and historic. The story of the battle for silver is still unfolding, and the pressure is building by the day. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and get timely updates on this generational opportunity, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next. So, what does this massive contradiction in the silver market mean for you, the retail investor? It means everything. The pressure cooker environment is the ultimate buy signal, a rare window into the true underlying forces of the silver market. For years, the paper price has been a distorted reflection of reality, held down by institutional manipulation. Now, the physical reality is reasserting itself with a vengeance. The pressure that is allegedly crushing the big bank short positions is the very same pressure that will propel the wealth of those who are on the right side of this trade, those who own physical silver or silver-backed assets. Think about it. The relentless industrial demand from the EV, solar, and AI sectors is a tidal wave that cannot be stopped by paper contracts. The persistent supply deficit means this imbalance is only going to get worse. Your roadmap to capitalizing on this is to follow the physical metal, not the paper promises. The reports of a massive Wall Street bank getting burned are proof that the game has changed. The old methods of price suppression are failing because there simply isn't enough physical silver to back up the paper bets. This is a David versus Goliath story, but this time David has the laws of supply and demand on his side. Every ounce of silver an industrial user buys and takes off the market is one less ounce available for the shorts to cover their positions. Every investor who chooses to buy a physical coin or bar instead of a paper derivative adds another crack in the dam. The contradiction at the heart of JPMorgan's silver story wasn't just a bad trade, it was a fundamental miscalculation of the power of the physical market. The big banks bet that paper could continue to trump reality. They were wrong. And for those who understand what's happening, their error is the starting gun for a major repricing of silver to levels that reflect its true scarcity and utility. Now, let's go back to that official JPMorgan forecast. $81 per ounce. After everything we've discussed, does that number seem bullish enough? Or does it seem like a desperate attempt at damage control? An $81 price target is just high enough to sound impressive and maintain credibility, but it pales in comparison to where many analysts believe the market is headed. Silver has already seen incredible volatility, with some reports in early 2026 citing highs over $100 per ounce. So, a forecast for an $81 average could be seen as conservative, an anchor to prevent expectations from running to the truly explosive bull case targets of $100 or more that some analysts are now discussing. In fact, one of JPMorgan's own former chief strategists, Marko Kolanovic, who left the bank in 2024, has warned of extreme volatility. He speculates about a potential speculative bubble bursting and prices falling back toward $50 an ounce, framing this in the context of a market driven by meme traders in fear of missing out. This perspective, however, largely ignores the structural supply deficits and unprecedented industrial demand that we've detailed. The real story isn't just about speculative froth. It's about a fundamental physical shortage. The $81 forecast from JPMorgan feels less like a genuine prediction and more like an admission of defeat. It's an acknowledgement that prices are going much higher, while trying to manage expectations and perhaps give their trading desks a target they can try to defend. But the forces at play are now far beyond their control. The true target for silver isn't what JPMorgan prints in a research report. It's the price required to balance a market in a severe and worsening deficit. And that price is likely far higher than $81. Now, to be fair, we have to address the main counter-argument to this incredibly bullish thesis, the risk of substitution. JPMorgan's own analysts have highlighted this as the biggest long-term threat. The theory goes that as silver becomes more expensive, industrial users, particularly in the solar sector, will be incentivized to innovate and either use less silver, a process called thrifting, or find alternative materials altogether. This is a valid concern. We are indeed seeing a decline in silver demand per solar panel. However, framing this as an immediate threat that will derail the bull market is deeply misleading for several critical reasons. First, substitution is a slow, expensive, and difficult process. It can take years of research, development, and retooling of massive manufacturing plants. It is not a switch that can be flipped overnight. Second, while the amount of silver BAS per a panel may be decreasing, the total number of solar panels being installed globally is still growing exponentially. Even with thrifting, the overall demand from the solar industry remains a colossal force. Third, and most importantly, this argument completely ignores the new inelastic demand coming from the EV and AI sectors. Even if solar demand were to plateau, the consumption from these other transformative industries is just beginning its steep upward curve. The substitution argument is a long-term consideration, a problem for the 2030s, not a solution to the supply crisis of 2026. For the shorts, it's a distant hope. For investors, it's a distraction from the immediate and overwhelming reality. There is not enough silver to meet the world's needs right now, and that fundamental truth will dictate the price for the foreseeable future. The deficits are here, the demand is real, and the squeeze is on. We started with a shocking contradiction. JPMorgan, a bank with a history of manipulating the silver market, telling you the price is going to $81 while online chatter claims it's losing billions betting against it. We've deconstructed the story and seen that this isn't just a simple trading error. It is the spectacular rumored failure of a decades-old strategy. The paper games that once suppressed the price of silver are being overwhelmed by the brute force of physical reality. A structural supply deficit, now in its 6th year, has collided with a once-in-a-generation demand boom from solar, electric vehicles, and artificial and intelligence. This has created a ticking time bomb under the massive short positions allegedly held by institutional players, making a powerful short squeeze not just a possibility, but an increasing probability. JPMorgan's conflicting story is a signal. It's a flare in the night, illuminating the immense pressure building within the physical silver market. It shows that the forces of real-world supply and demand are finally winning. The rumored multi-billion-dollar blunder is the crack in the facade, revealing the incredible opportunity for retail investors who understand what is truly happening. JPMorgan may have made a multi-billion-dollar mistake. The only bigger mistake would be not taking advantage of it. If you found this analysis valuable, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the financial markets. Thank you for watching.